thanks for this. My name's Colby Delorme. My traditional name is Ostimau Napio. That's Cree for tobacco man. I'm a Métis, a member of the Métis Nation. My family comes from the Fisher Branch region of Manitoba, really close to the Peguis First Nations band. I'm probably more than anything, I'm a creator. I like to build businesses and create new opportunities, create new products, services, anything where I can sort of keep my mind engaged and create new things for me to focus on. I've been an entrepreneur since the age of 18. I've started and operated probably about 6 or 8 different businesses. Currently, I'm in partnership with my mother, Dr. Marie Delorme. We own a company called Imagination Group, Inc. Imagination Group is a 3-division organization. We have a business consulting firm where we focus primarily on strategic planning and a lot of different HR-related business services. We also have a ceremonial tobacco manufacturing company. So we manufacture tobacco for the use of fulfilling protocol when working with Indigenous people. Ceremonial tobacco is gifted so that people have the ability to go and seek help. So it's a really beautiful product, and it's the most powerful of the medicines for our people. And we have an Indigenous gift company, and it's the longest running component of our business. We started out as a greeting card business, and now we've moved into to gift products. I spend a great deal of my time working in the not-for-profit sector, probably about the last 18 or 19 years, given a fair bit of my time. My latest work that I'm focused on is a not-for-profit that myself and 2 other individuals started in 2014 called Influence Mentoring Society. It's a charity that serves Indigenous post-secondary students. So we are creating mentorship opportunities for them for the purpose of trying to build their own social capital. So really exciting opportunity that has really sort of come to fruition in December of 2020. It wasn't myself who started Imagination. You maybe could argue that I was there from the beginning, but it was actually my mother. She left her executive position at TELUS in 1999, early 2000s, and decided that she wanted to create an Indigenous greeting card company. At that time, she sort of had this idea come to her, and just something that she thought was a great fit. She was just finishing up her executive MBA at Queen's. So sort of an exciting time and period for her. And I was involved more on mentoring her becoming an entrepreneur. At that point, I already had about 7 years of time in as an entrepreneur. So I was helping her to answer questions and develop parts of the business that she needed help with. And a couple years later, I actually joined her in the operations of Imagination. At that time, it was just a greeting card business. So to create a small-scale tobacco manufacturing company is a bit of a chore, especially if you want to automate. But we took on that challenge and figured it out. What I thought was really interesting, as I said earlier, I thought this was just going to be a great business opportunity. But one of the things I did know from being in ceremony and being a part of our traditional practices, that you shouldn't be getting into that kind of business without permission. So I had approached and elders in our community, community members, and explain to them what it is I wanted to do and whether or not it was whether a Métis person could be allowed to do that because it is a First Nation traditional practice. So did that, went through ceremony. My elder, Patrick Daignon, went and spoke with the ancestors and came back and said, yeah, this is what you're supposed to be doing, and this is going to be the process. So, you know, I've always known how to start businesses, how to create them, but I've never done it from a traditional lens. And it was such an interesting experience because where I've actually come to now is that this has been less of a business, an exploration of building a new business, and has been far more of a coming back to tradition, learning about cultural practices, I guess discovering my spirituality. And it's just been an absolutely beautiful experience that I could have never guessed. When we receive our tobacco, one of the things that happens with our tobacco is it's blessed. So our tobacco, all of our tobacco has been blessed by my elder, and we're very careful with the tobacco. We care for the tobacco like a child. So we bring no negativity around the tobacco. We don't handle the tobacco if we're in a negative state of mind. We smudge the tobacco once a week. Anytime we touch the tobacco in order to work with it, we smudge. So we're really particular about the care and attention that we put into the tobacco. And our tobacco, one of the other things that's unique about it, because we are a small manufacturer, is we have automated the process. So we reduce the amount of hand touching or manipulating of the tobacco by a human drastically. The reason why we do this is because of that intentionality. We can't control everyone's ability to be in a positive state of mind or to understand, you know, the importance of protocol with the tobacco, especially caring for the tobacco. So what we've done is we've used automation equipment that takes the tobacco from a cut state, weighs it, bags it without people touching it. And now that allows for when I do need someone to touch it, they're touching the bag. They're not touching the actual medicine, the tobacco. So that's one of the things, or a lot of the things that make our tobacco very different. The other is when you buy our product, it's already ready for gifting. One of the problems we had was because we wanted to buy a product that was already produced, we had actually set up to be a wholesaler, not a manufacturer. A manufacturer in Canada is considered, you have to have an excise license in order to do that. So we had to go through some learnings because of the way we thought we were going to do it. I think for me, the biggest learning has been around the automation. I wanted to automate the business. It didn't take me very long, maybe doing it for 6 months and saying the labor of this is just so extreme and really, really expensive. And it wasn't something that you could speed up the manufacturing of individuals doing it, but only maybe 5 or 10%. We did that, but we realized that it was always going to be dependent on that individual being able to do it effectively and wanting to do it. And it's difficult. It's hard on your back. It's just difficult work. And it's especially the weighing of it. You have to be particular with it. It's got to hit a very specific weight, which isn't very heavy. So I had to go and figure out the automation. And this is something that I have I've probably spent 10,000 hours working on the automation. So none of our equipment is designed for tobacco. It's designed for other food manufacturing. But I found smaller scale equipment that could produce tobacco the way I needed it, so that we could automate. We've got to about 50–60% automation. I would say the greatest learning there was, I don't know, somehow trying to figure out the best way to do something without having to go through all the steps that I went through. And I don't know if I could have done that. Part of it is finding the terminology for it and realizing what that automation is. What's most interesting about our business is now that I'm in it, other than for the ceremonial component of it, if I look at just the pure act of producing tobacco, I would actually consider us a packaging company that happens to sell tobacco, because a lot more of what we do is packaging related versus tobacco related. Like the issues we've solved are all packaging, they're not tobacco. So that was a really big learning. Probably if I could have talked with someone and they would have told me how expensive this would have been, I maybe wouldn't have gone into the business. This is hundreds and hundreds of thousands of dollars to get into. I would say once we're fully done, just for the size of our company, this is probably $1 million venture to get into. So without having other businesses, this would be very difficult to break into. And I always understood that you could not market tobacco. There's no mechanism to market tobacco in Canada. Even with all my experience, and I'm in my 29th year being self-employed, so I had 22 years in getting into tobacco, and I don't think I fully understood how different of a build-up for the business it would be not being able to market your product or your brand. Very difficult. So this is an organic growth initiative that it's just difficult. We're lucky that we have a brand that's known in a lot of other different areas and across different sectors. But I would say those are probably the three major challenges that I've faced. The other is there's a fourth one. There's a lot of contraband tobacco in our market. Some of the people that we compete against do not follow all the taxation laws. And as a result of it, it makes it more difficult for us to compete because we want to follow all the laws. We're just honest people, but two, we believe it destroys the nature of the tobacco and the positive intentionality. Even if you had an argument that's saying, well, from an Indigenous lens, we shouldn't be controlled through tax. So yeah, those are probably the four areas that we face the most challenges and barriers. You know, when I started my business in 1994, my first business, I was seeking out mentors without realizing that's what I was finding in individuals. I was looking for experts. I was looking for an expert in marketing. I was looking for an expert in, business practices, gaining knowledge wherever I could, experts just in construction. And I was utilizing that information in order to expedite my learning, because I didn't come through a traditional post-secondary education. I started my business when I was 18. So by seeking out information, you're doing a number of different things. One, you're learning the things that you've got a gap in, but you're also creating this social capital at the same time. You're building your network, you're building a customer base, you're building your access to information, you're proactively planning for your future. And I spend a lot of time now informally mentoring new entrepreneurs. They are starting a business and they want some advice on something, or sometimes they just want general advice. The people that I see who are doing this the most successfully are gaining multiple mentors in different areas. So if you really need someone who's going to give you a general sense of business, find that individual, find that person who's a real entrepreneur, right? You need that person. But you might need some expertise in marketing. And you could go to someone who's not an entrepreneur, someone who works in big corporate, do whatever, but go find someone who can help you just navigate that. You probably need an individual who knows your sector really well. So if you're starting a tobacco business, go find someone in tobacco. People love sharing knowledge when they think they know something you don't. People love that. So I think you go out and you gather, and what I call it, and I heard this term from someone else, but I've been using it for years, you build up your own personal board of directors. Everyone has a specific skill set, and they bring that to you because they care, they want to help, they want to share their information, and you utilize that information in order to propel you forward. And I think it's a more powerful tool than the theoretical things you're learning in business school. I think it's more practical than maybe your preconceived notions of how you should run a business. And at the same time, it's the type of relationships you have to build in order to make a successful business operate, even if they weren't giving you advice. These are the people who need to know you or even exist. So you're really doing double duty when you do that. The last thing I would offer is a lot of people hear this notion that the only way you can create a successful business is to be fully invested in it from day one. You can't have another job. You can't be focused on something else. All these sentiments that people share. I don't agree. I think the individual who is not worried about how they're going to pay their mortgage and how they're going to eat and how they're going to take care of their child has a better opportunity of being able to focus on the important parts of their business and allow their business to grow slowly and organically, so that when it gets to a point that you can go in full bore, that you're secure, you're mentally grounded and sound, so that you can make really good informed decisions. If you're having a hard time paying your company bills, you're having a hard time paying your mortgage, and you feel like everything's a struggle, I don't know how you come up with good strategies to proactively operate or direct your business. Does it mean that all businesses will start that way? Absolutely not. Some people are going to start their business right out of university because they got this amazing idea they came up with, and they'll get a VC to give them money and all that stuff. But I'm talking about the average business. The average business is never going to break 250 grand a year. Another small percentage is going to break 500 grand a year, and a very small group is going to break $1 million a year in revenue. So keep that in mind when you're formulating what it is. Don't look at the organizations you're reading about in the magazine or in social media. The most of us are in the trenches, just making stuff happen.